Welcome to my brand new series, I Failed. Here's where I'm going to be bringing back agents that used to be on this team to share their story with you on why they did not succeed. Everybody out there, including myself, is sharing successes from top producers of what they're doing to be successful, but nobody's sharing what happens to the ones that failed. So I am unveiling the curtain of full transparency to allow these agents to share their story with you so you can get a different side of the business and really make a informed decision on whether or not this industry is right for you. My name is Dana Neeson, and welcome to I Failed. Welcome, Madison, to the I Failed series.
Thank you.
I know it sounds negative, but it's really not. It really should be called It Wasn't a Good Fit series, but the I Failed series sounds so much flashier.
Yeah.
You're in the car, obviously, and you are on your lunch break. So obviously, you are no longer with Tailored Legacy and you have another job, which we'll talk about when we get closer to the end. So let's just start with a quick introduction of who you are. When did you get your license and how did you begin your career in the industry?
Sure. My name is Madison. I first was licensed in life insurance in July of 2022, and had that license for about 2 years now. I really got started into it because I was super, super drawn by the potential for growth. And let's be honest, the potential for making good money.
Yeah.
So that's got into it to start with and just really found a love for bringing understanding into the field of insurance where I found a lot of people don't have understanding of what it can do for you. So started with kind of some money reasons, but
Yeah.
developed into a more passionate about the actual helping of people for sure.
And where did you get your first taste of the business?
I began in Symmetry Financial Group. That was the first position that I held, which was also a remote 1099 position.
Okay.
Uh, didn't quite align with what I was looking for, as I was a broker with very minimal training.
Okay.
So I left that to transition into Tailored Legacy.
And how long were you with how long were you with Symmetry for?
I about half a year. I don't think it was too much longer than that.
6 months around. Okay. And how many carriers were you contracted with?
I was contracted with about, I believe it was nine by the time I had ended. But they were encouraging to be contracted with 40 carriers.
Oh, okay. So you were contracted with nine with the intention of expanding to 40. Telesales, were you buying your own leads or were they provided or financed? How did that work?
I did purchase all of my leads with them, and oftentimes the leads were not fresh; they were recycled. So, calling people who had been requesting insurance maybe a year ago, and
Hmm.
other agents had failed to sell them on a policy, and so those leads were recycled and kind of given to the newer agents as a purchase option. So those
Yeah.
were the leads I was purchasing them myself. Yeah.
How many policies do you think you sold while you were there?
I would say very few, I'll be honest. In the 6 months, I maybe sold four policies altogether, total.
Four policies in 6 months. And do you contribute that also just to the lack of training? Like you really didn't understand how to take someone through the process as
A-
well?
Absolutely. I think it was a lack of training and a lack of just having the fundamentals of what it is to sell insurance, especially in that position, being a broker and being contracted with several different carriers who all sold different types of insurance, different policies, different rules and regulations. It
Mhm.
was extremely overwhelming, but also very difficult to convince the customer that I was a good representative of a company because I was, contracted with several other companies. So
Yeah.
I found it a big challenge, and like you said, just a lack of training and getting those fundamentals even to begin with.
So, because what I want people to know is that a lot of people are always searching for the best leads, right? And even even recycled leads, I'm not promoting recycled leads, but if you have like a really strong sales background, you could make a lot of money off of older or recycled leads.
Sure.
And so it's probably just a combination of everything. And then not knowing what carrier to put them with. And it just must have been a little confused. So what attracted you most to Symmetry besides the money? Was there anything else that you were like, oh, this is really cool?
Yeah, absolutely. At the time I had my child home with me, and they allowed the flexibility for me to work from home and run meetings with my child. So I was doing, sales calls with my child who wasn't even a year old at that time. So that was it was a huge attraction to me. And it took me the experience to realize that that wasn't what a good fit for me to have my son there as I'm trying to be a professional. It created a lot of distraction for me, but that was one of the big attraction points for Symmetry, was that fact that they allowed me to do that, as well as just the flexibility in general to be remote and work as much or as little as I needed to.
Got it. Okay. And so at what point did you start searching and when did you find this team?
I started searching shortly after I left Symmetry, and spent a lot of time because there are a lot of companies out there that run a remote sales process for insurance.
Yeah.
Um, really drawn to Tailored Legacy because of the leads, I'll be honest, and also because of the training that was just described in the application process. As it was described to me, I was very impressed, and it was really what I was looking for because I hadn't gotten a lot of training. I had some experience from Symmetry, but I hadn't really gotten those basic trainings down. So hearing that you guys had this wonderful training program that kind of helped, slowly initiate the new people, I was very attracted by that.
And I believe you were one of the first group of agents that actually did come in through our agent and training program, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes, I think one of the first couple of waves of agents, yeah.
Okay. Because I'm looking here, I keep turning away because I'm looking here at kind of what you were writing in your first month, which if I'm wrong, please tell me. Was it in October of last year?
That sounds right. Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. So in your first month, let's see, where did you go? So your first, well, actually end of October, early November. So it was like I think we launched it in August and you came in
Oh,
at the end of October. But still, you got that help, that handheld help that we do talk a lot about and how that makes a big difference. So I'm really glad that we're bringing you on because the first two people that I interviewed didn't even have that. So now we have someone that went through the agent and training program, and so I'm showing here that your first week on the phones, you sold 3 policies. The second week you sold 4. Um, the third week you sold 2, and the fourth week you sold 3. So what is that? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 11, 12. So 12 policies in your first month here with us, where you had sold 3 and 6 months. That's a
correct.
huge difference. So what's going through your mind in your first month here?
I was very excited. I was really getting on the phones and really leaning into the training. And I think I was feeling that way for the most part the entire time I worked with you guys. I so appreciated the help from the Melissas
Yeah.
And they were a huge part of my experience being there at Tailored Legacy. Just having that handheld kind of help and having somebody there to not necessarily babysit, but if I had a question, I had a resource, which was something that I never had with Symmetry. If I had a question, I had to either figure it out myself or fake it until I made it, right?
Mhm.
And Tailored Legacy gave me a lot more confidence, knowing that the information I was providing to the customers was accurate because I had someone who was very experienced listening in and confirming that.
Yep.
But just having the confidence to try new things and try to change my sales process to match some of these people who I was listening to, and kind of follow the leaders as far as follow the successes of them.
Okay. So here's where the slippery slope comes in and enters your life and interferes with your ability to really be successful here. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. So you're a single mom, right? You're a single mom. Your son
Fun, yeah.
is in daycare, and you're really doing everything you can to survive and support you and him. And so you're doing life insurance by day, half a day, and then you're also spending a lot of time doing DoorDash, correct?
Correct. Yes, I was certainly doing two or more things the entire time that I was working with Tailored Legacy. Yeah.
And so that's really hard. And we had a lot of conversations about this while you were here, because when you're learning, and even though you kind of have a similar story to Hillary that just got posted early this morning, where she had spent 6 months prior to coming here with two other companies. And had she just started fresh here from the beginning, she may have had more time to give it more time, so to speak,
Right.
right? And so you came in with, again, 6 months of, I have tried this for 6 months. I don't have as much time now
Correct.
to give it if I would have just started with you from the beginning. So your back's already slightly up against the wall. You're out of money because you've paid for leads. You're out of, savings, trying to, continue to put food on the table. And so this sort of being a quote unquote saving grace, it is, but it isn't, right? Because you still
Right.
have to put in the work in order to pay the bills. And when you were here, we were like really there to try to help and support you. But so often your time was split because that panic, I have
Yes.
to have this amount of money guaranteed. And I know if I go DoorDash, I'm going to get that guaranteed money. I don't know if I stay on the phones, am I going to get that same money? And then when is it going to pay me because the start date's not today?
Yep. Yeah.
All those things going through your mind.
Yes. Yeah. So, and that was a huge part of my, I think, kind of my fall off towards the end before I left was I was just to this point, like you explained, that I have no choice, right? But to pay my bills, and the uncertainty of if and when really, really caused that sales pressure on me. Which I think affected my sales process too, because if I know I need a sale, it affects how I approach things, and that's something I definitely needed to work on. But yeah, a lot of it was just the panic, like you said, and needing to have a guaranteed, to kind of put myself at rest and be able to put best my best salesperson forward, if that makes sense.
Well, absolutely. And then you and I put together a plan for that, right?
Yes, yes, yeah, and you were great. I mean, everyone Legacy honestly was so wonderful and supportive and understanding. And I will be the first one to admit that a lot of my issues stemmed truly from my anxiety over the uncertain. I'll be first to admit that for sure.
So let's talk about what that plan was, because
Sure.
I think that, I mean, we really I really feel like we put you in an environment to be able to prove to yourself that you could do it. But I think the fact that it had like an end date, that wasn't like a forever thing, which I'm going to talk about in a second,
Yeah.
looking back is probably it was still like the inevitable was coming. And so to just give some clarity, I had a meeting with you and I had asked you like how much do you definitely need to have at the end of the week to 100% guarantee that your son can be in daycare the following week, right? That was the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gave me that number and I said, okay, so if you put in, what was it? Like how much was it based on talk time? Was it say just don't DoorDash this week? Or do you remember exactly the details?
I think it was 40 hours of like active work,
Work
um,
and no
with both
DoorDash.
and yeah, none of that. And then with some, I want to say 25 hours of talk time as like
I
the
think you're right.
goal.
I think it was
Yeah.
about that. That I would guarantee that I would make sure that your son had the money for, or that you would have the money to put your son in daycare for the following week. So you would not have to worry about that. Right.
Right.
And you and I did that for how long? 2 weeks, 3 weeks? How long did we do that for?
I think it was two or 3 weeks. Yeah, I think you're right on
Weeks.
that.
So we've never talked about that since. And
Right.
I really want to know like what was going through your mind when we set that up.
I'll be really honest with you, Dana. I think the biggest thing that was going through my mind was, wow, I can tell that these people really genuinely want me to succeed, and now I can't let them down. And that gives you a little insight of who I am as a person. I'm just a very anxious person in general, and I think that's some of my problems all kind of grouped into one explanation. But I really wanted to make sure that because you had given me this opportunity, that I showed you that hey, I'm here. I'm gonna work, and I'm happy to put in that time. And I think that kind of put some more stress on myself because even though there weren't sales goals, it was just show up and do this. It took a lot of the stress off as far as, making sure my bills were paid, but it added a new stress of, okay, now I have to show them that I'm worth it. I'm worth this opportunity. So I think that's kind of what was going through my mind initially, but it certainly gave me another really really wonderful chance to put my best effort in, and I just was very grateful the entire time. That was something that I repeated multiple times to the people around me. Wow, this is an amazing company. I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
Um, my dog is barking in the background. I don't know if you can hear it. That's why I had myself on mute because I'm not planning on editing this because it takes too much work. So, because the intention of that was not, oh, you better prove yourself, right? That was never, I know that's how that, the back of your mind, it was like, oh God, now I have this extra stress to do that. Of course, for me, it was to try to help give you that freedom to not feel the stress of paying the bills with the unintended consequence of an additional stress that it ended up bringing out for you.
That's on me though, I
Yeah.
think.
And ultimately I think on some level that I still knew deep down that it was just a band-aid, that it really wasn't going to solve the problem permanently.
Sure.
I had like a grand vision of, oh, you're going to sell, all these policies. You're going to prove to yourself that you don't need DoorDash anymore, that you can go all in and do this. But I don't think that you saw enough in the such short amount of time, because that was like the first time that
Right.
you had put in that much time.
Right.
Right. Because up to that point, for the first 2 months leading up to it, it was really part-time, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
it just wasn't long enough ultimately for you to be able to make a good rational decision with your back against the wall, knowing that you have to put food on the table, put your son in daycare for you to be able to justify it. I see it now. Do you agree with that?
I really do. And I think I came out of that period, that training period, or that, that 3 week period, feeling very more confident, certainly, because I had gotten a chance, like you said, to actually put in some hours and really get some policies sold. And then, coming out of there, I felt, okay, well, now it's all on me, and I have to make sure. And I think during that first week, following that arrangement, I had gotten hit with some chargebacks, and it just was the final straw. And I was like, I can't afford it. It really came down to that. I can't afford it because I need to make sure my bills are paid.
Yeah, yeah. And I do see here that your time in January was definitely dipping.
Yep.
Um, but what's even funny is even in January, you were still writing like 3, 4 policies a week, and it just wasn't enough to keep you afloat. I see here into February. When did you finally leave? Because I'm still clicking and your name is showing. So it looks like March.
March. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So tell everyone what you're doing now.
Right now I am in a very great position with State Farm. It's a salary position. I don't have to buy my own leads. It's a very solidified book of business. So a lot of our business we write is referrals. Um, I I wouldn't be here though. I'll be really honest. I wouldn't be to this point if I didn't have Symmetry and Tailored Legacy as my stepping stones. I got some experience and it was very valuable, and that allowed me to get to this point. And I'm still here. I've increased from doing just life, and I'm now insured in property and casualty and health as well.
That's great.
So have increased the lines that I'm licensed with, and it's just a better fit for me. And I put a lot of that towards the certainty of knowing when my paycheck is coming, and still being able to make those commissions, which was so appealing at the very beginning, for insurance in general for me. So
So, what sort of words of encouragement or advice would you give someone that is attracted to 1099 that really wants to make it work? Because we know it can, right? We
that's
know it's possible. So, I'm doing this whole I failed series, not to be like a doom and gloom, but
right.
to show just a different side of people's experiences. And but still giving a light of hope, right? That it is possible. And is there anything you would have done different, or is there anything you can share with our audience that would help them, really understand what to expect?
Sure, sure. I think honestly, if I could go back and start over, I would have started with Tailored Legacy. I think, like you'd mentioned before, that would have made a huge difference. If I had started with a company like yours that encourages the training and gives you kind of a slow introduction, because it is confusing, right? Especially if you've just gotten your life insurance license and you're brand new. I think that would be a big thing. As well as, just being prepared for the potential that you don't make sales in the first week, but the second week might be great, and then the third week might not be, and just be kind of prepared for the inconsistency and the ups and downs, whether that mean financially or just mentally. And that was challenge of mine is I just wasn't mentally in the right spot. I was in a panic state already when I started, and I don't think that ever went away through my course of being with Tailored Legacy. So I think, coming into it with a very open mindset as far as your expectations. I know a lot of times life insurance opportunities and jobs are sold as kind of being like, hey, you're going to make $300,000 a year in your very year. And while that sounds great, and I'm not saying it's not possible because I've seen people do that, it 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 takes a lot of work and a very solid mindset, I believe. And I think just managing your expectations going in, as well as, being prepared that you might have a really good week followed by a bad week, and whatever that means financially for you, just kind of have that in the back of your head so it doesn't it doesn't cause too much stress that way. I think that would be my biggest biggest advice I would give myself, at least if I was beginning.
What's one thing that you would change about um, what we do at Tailored Legacy that you think might have made a difference?
Man, that's a hard question. I love the company I'm at now. I really did enjoy working with Tailored Legacy, and I really enjoyed the company you guys represent. I think personally for me, having even just a set schedule would have made a difference. Because you know the appeal of having that flexibility has its pros and cons, because the flexibility means that I can go and do something else, and you know do something else on the side and then come back and make calls, but that's not necessarily maybe the best approach, right, when you're just getting started. So I think that's what I would change, maybe, is just having a set a set expectation of hours, or you know, that sort of thing, schedule.
You know that we would get sued.
Probably.
Can't do that. But
Oh,
I mean, so really what I'm hearing, and I've asked everybody here to be as honest and transparent as possible. This is basically a promotion of our team in disguise, right?
right.
I mean, I'm not hiding that. It's just I'm trying to debunk that the reason that there is a high turnover in this industry and even on my team has nothing to do with me or the team or the leads or what we provide really at all.
And I absolutely agree. I think of the leaders and managers that I with, now I can hear your dogs. No,
Go
okay.
talk.
No, I think I certainly, you guys were very supportive. The company that we're representing with Tailored Legacy is truly a great option for that specific niche of people that are looking for that. And the leads, I had nothing bad to say. It truly came down to my own unpreparedness and inability to you know, I just wasn't ready for that, not having the consistency, like I've said multiple times. But it really truly, and coming from someone who's not with you anymore, it truly wasn't because of you or the team whatsoever. I had never worked before Tailored Legacy. I'd never worked at a place that had put so much effort into someone they'd never met before. You know, we're all just talking over the phone and over Zoom meetings and whatever it may be. And I could still tell that, you know, not just me, but everybody starting and everyone on the team, it was really important that there was success and there was trainings available and there were options to grow. But a lot of it, you know, is on you. And that was my problem, is I just wasn't in the mindset for that particular position. And that a lot of the stuff was just coming from my own insecurities and that sort of thing. So I definitely align with you on that, saying it wasn't you or the team whatsoever.
Yeah, well, I
Just,
appreciate that.
yeah,
And I'm so happy that we were still able to part amicably,
yeah.
and that I am so happy that you found something that makes you feel confident and strong without stress, and that you're going to be able to just shine where you're at. It makes me really happy to see.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Like I said, I don't think I would even be close to this position where I feel that way if I didn't have these stepping stones, you know, on the way. I learned a lot from Tailored Legacy about even just down to just insurance in general, but also connecting with customers. I think the way that you guys approach sales was it really did align with how I felt, you know, that education and helping the customers understand that
Yeah.
really that really built a stepping stone for my sales process. And now as I've moved on to a new position, I do find myself, you know, recalling things that we've talked about in the past, because it's good stuff, and it's important, I think, in a salesperson to have that kind of empathy, and you guys are all aligned in that way, which I really respected.
Well, thank you so much. I told you I wasn't going to take more of your lunch break than I wanted to. I took 30 minutes and I really only wanted to take 20. But
That's okay. I'm not worried about it.
thank you for spending it with us. I'm really excited to get this on so that people can hear your story and continue to share the failures along the way, which ultimately lead to successes. So it may not be here, but it is for the right person. And just again, thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate Madison.
Of course, Dana. I appreciate it.
Thanks.